Hi, welcome back to our viewers and listeners. I'm your host, Mihir Bagwe for the Cyber Express. And today we are diving headfirst into the biggest force reshaping our industry, artificial intelligence. From AI replacing or transforming cyber jobs to managing shadow AI governance, and fighting off hyper realistic deepfakes operating at machine speed. Security leaders are facing an entirely new playbook. How do CISOs balance rapid innovation with real-world risk? And what does it take to lead an enterprise security strategy today versus, say, 10 years ago? Joining us today to unpack all of this is Harsha Reddy. Harsha brings an incredible perspective on CISO leadership, AI adoption mistakes, brand protection, and strategic risk management. We've got an amazing conversation lined up, including a fast-paced new segment called Cyber Shots. Harsha, a very warm welcome to you.
Thank you, Mihir. I'm Harsha Reddy. I'm head of IT security and CISO at Veterinary Emergency Group, or shortly Wedge. Um, I've been with Wedge now for 5 years. Before
Mhm,
joining Wedge as the security leader, I was the global security leader at a manufacturing company called Lixil,
mhm,
headquartered out of Tokyo. It's a huge manufacturing company.
mhm,
Before that, I was the security leader for a security and cloud leader for a company called American Standard.
mhm.
And before joining that, I was the cloud and infrastructure leader for the same company, American Standard. Before that, I worked for a couple of companies. Started my career, by the way, with Infosys in India
Mhm.
um, as their uh, the title was network engineer, but I was actually infrastructure engineer at Infosys. That was the start of my tech career a
Oh,
couple of
excellent.
decades
So,
ago.
so like you said, your career probably didn't start into cybersecurity directly, but everyone has that kind of a deja vu moment where, yeah, this is what I want to do for the rest of my career. It must have happened to you as well. So talk to me about that. Like where and when did that happen?
Um, so a couple of decades back, when I started my career as the infrastructure engineer, there was no such term as a security engineer.
Hmm.
CISOs themselves were very rare in very isolated big companies. And I think CISO was a coined term that was starting about then, but most companies did not have a dedicated security person. Nobody really paid attention to security. Um, it was the infrastructure engineer who was troubleshooting security incident. If a malware, a virus, was infecting a machine, it was the infrastructure team, the support team that went and troubleshoot uh, these issues. So, fixing malware problems, finding all the registry entries, scouring through the registry, finding all the files that were dropped by a malware, uh, was fun when I was initially doing it. That just so I enjoyed it, and so. I was a security engineer, not knowing I was a security engineer, probably thought of a senior SOC analyst, uh, titled infrastructure engineer. Um, so I was enjoying, and
Hmm.
I started to look at PK infrastructure, deploying PK infrastructure, not knowing that was a security job. I was doing it. So that fun-filled part-time exercise, because
Hmm.
this was part-time job, not my full-time job as an
Oh, okay.
infrastructure engineer, led me to transition into security and telling myself, hey, maybe this is what I want to do. This is what I want to transition my career into.
Right, right. That sounds interesting, and I can completely understand when you talk about transitioning because I started as a biomedical engineer and I transitioned into media and all of that. Like everyone has that moment when you get the thrills and you start enjoying doing what you're doing, and you want
Yeah.
to keep doing
You
it.
feel
And
like yeah, doing what I did, you feel like a sleuth, you feel like a detective. So
yeah.
if you like that sort of a thing, it felt that thrills what made me go into what made me. going to
Right.
appear.
It's like donning the Sherlock's hat, right? Especially in cybersecurity.
At a smaller scale, yeah.
Yeah. So, let's address the elephant in the room. Everyone's been talking about AI and, how AI is probably going to replace the jobs. And so, do you think AI will actually replace cybersecurity professionals? I know there has been a lot of areas where it has replaced a few professionals, especially like, data entries and coming from India, the BPO sector and everywhere. They have replaced to a certain extent. But when it comes to cybersecurity professionals, do you think that they can replace it or simply change what they are doing?
Yeah, there are so many things that can be talked about on this topic. This one quick thing I want to start is in the cybersecurity field, AI is going to replace the task, not the defenders. If
Hmm.
anything, it's just replacing tasks that were keeping the defenders from actually defending.
Hmm.
I was at Gartner event a couple of months back. Gartner did a published a research
Right.
where they said every single field is going to lose jobs to
Hmm.
some extent, while cybersecurity is going to gain jobs. This was one field they were saying there is a strong gain of jobs.
Hmm.
Um, Most of what burns our security teams is the toil. It's log review, alert triage, evidence gathering. So there is a ton of stuff that
Hmm.
when something is happening, it feels like pulling the defenders away from defense. AI would help that. So
Hmm.
defenders can do more of what they were um actually unable to do before.
Right.
Um, you actually answered your question at the end when you were saying, is it going to change what they're doing? So that's exactly what is going to happen. Sometimes um, it's with AI, it's going to change how you do the job, but not take over the job, at least in
Right.
cybersecurity. There are going to be
Hmm.
more jobs. Um,
Right.
and my CEO and I, we were having a conversation about this one. And
Hmm.
I've heard the same sentiment across the industry from several CEOs is it's the analyst who refuses to use AI that
Hmm.
will get replaced
Okay.
by an analyst who uses it. So I would recommend, as long as you know how to use AI to do your cybersecurity job, you'll have the jobs are not going anywhere.
Perfect. That's I think a very good way to round it up. And you've spoken earlier about AI governance in your other brief talks and everything. So, where do you think most organizations are getting AI adoption wrong today? Because not everyone is getting it right. So I just wanted to check with you, like there has to be some kind of reasons behind it, like people are investing heavily into it and then thinking that, oh, it probably I over invested into it or over thought about this and that AI adoption wasn't required. So do you think that most organizations are getting it wrong in certain aspects?
Yeah. Again, like the previous question, there are so many things to unpack here. Let me start off with a survey that Microsoft and LinkedIn together did in 2024 of the executives
Mm-hmm.
across the companies.
Mm-hmm.
8 in 10 leaders, 80% roughly, felt that AI is very critical to their business. And 6 in 10 had absolutely no plan. And 8 in 10 had employees bringing their own AI to the company. So 80% felt that's the real gap. 80% felt it was needed,
Mm-hmm.
60% had no plan, and 80% saw their employees bringing their own AI. So what then later happened, now moving from 2024 and 2026, is exactly what you said. Companies are buying, handing over tools. Many organizations started onboarding AI like software when they should be onboarding it like staff. You
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't hire someone, hand them the keys to the kingdom.
Right.
never check what they did. This is like bringing a bunch of interns um, and then trusting them with the company. Uh, the tough question people weren't answering the last 2 years is, okay, we invested X dollars, and I think we all have heard the horror stories of millions of dollars in bill
Hmm.
uh, because I've hasn't happened at our company, but I heard a few companies where there are leaderboards on token consumption. How many tokens have you used? So people game the system.
Right.
Um, so if you're using AI, you're highly rated.
Hmm.
But what did our AI tools actually do? Uh, is where I think that the gap has been in what is the value we are deriving. And now come back to this year's survey, uh, 2026, about 2,400 executives were surveyed as of this spring. Two-thirds of executives believe they have already had a data leak from unapproved AI tools. So for all this buzz of 2 years means now
Hmm.
executives know there has been data leak. Um, this sort of deployment methodology, Nathaniel Whittemore at the AI Daily Brief
Hmm.
podcast, one of the podcasts I really love, calls this buy and hope deployment.
Hmm.
And from a cybersecurity perspective, good governance isn't the brake, it's a steering. I mean, to me, I believe AI governance is not stopping it, is not blocking it, as we saw in the previous survey that 80% of the employees were bringing their own AI. People will find ways around it if you block it.
Yeah.
That's what creates the shadow AI, right? So in my mind, it is a set of guardrails, guidance that we provide employees on safely using AI. So if we proactively tell employees safely use, provide guidance, guardrails, have an AI enablement um, committee that actually provides employees with guidance on how to get the value out, and then measuring the value rather than measuring the token consumption.
Right.
Um, I think I've taken a long to answer that question, but I think there is, like I was saying in the beginning, there is so much to unpack here.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And it's not when you talk about AI governance, it's not like one thing fits all, right? It covers a lot of things, and I completely get it. So you were giving the example of the Microsoft and LinkedIn survey and everything. There was a Microsoft report about AI threat detection, and Cyber also had AI threat landscape report made live very recently, and they were talking about hyper realistic deep fakes, people being duped into transferring money. There was a case in Hong Kong where 25 million were transferred, like an entire boardroom meeting was designed using AI. And so the cyber criminals are basically, and threat actors are basically gearing up with their AI skills, and the brand impersonations and executive impersonations, it's gone up drastically. So my question is, how should security leaders adapt their say brand protection strategy when the threat is human deception? And that too, it is operating at machine speed.
Yeah. So uh, I'd approach this from two angles. One, obviously, you have to monitor and detect what's going on if your brand is being impersonated. Uh, if there is any information on your brand in the dark web. And second, make that intelligence actionable. Whichever partner you use, we use Cybele. You mentioned Cybele. We use Cybele as our partner to one, monitor the dark web, two, look for deep fakes across social media.
Hmm.
But then, how do you take and action that to intelligence? So we then take that intelligence and then fit into our own uh, preemptive actions. Um, I'll give a very small and simple example. If we see that XYZ information for our employees, as an example, is in dark web, then
Mm.
what does that mean? What repercussions could that mean to the company? We either spruce up our defense mechanisms, um, our detection mechanisms based on
Mm.
what we are seeing in the dark web.
Right.
Whether it is a takedown of a um, typo domain, to take down of deepfakes on social media, those are
Mm.
all, we make that intelligence actionable. And the next thing is, to the point you're making about deepfakes, you can't really, you address this, right? This is attacks at machine speed. You cannot train your people. What I said in the first step is detection and then making that detection actionable.
Yeah.
That is only part of the story. Training
Mm.
people to detect deepfakes is a losing bet at machine speed. The fakes improve faster than your team can detect, or you're able to train your team.
Mm.
The An actual good defense is process mechanisms,
Mm.
whether it is through voice or video or email, moving money, um, as an example, make make trust part of your process. How you are, I think ever since, sorry, I'm dating myself, ever since going back to Enron, the checks and balances have improved a lot in companies regarding financial fraud, but it still happens. And that $25 million Singapore one, whether it is Singapore, Thailand, I forget now, a couple of years back, is a great
Mm.
example of deepfakes, faking people out of money. So having a process that includes proper trust on uh, um, how you take actions on deepfake, that should become a process,
Mm.
not just a training area.
Right. Right. You've addressed the fact that there's AI adoption everywhere, and innovation. People are trying to innovate using that AI as well. It's not just using it for, say, cybersecurity purposes or like doing offensive security things, but threat actors and hackers using it. But it is AI is now being looked at like, you're integrating it into your product suite as a company or as a vendor or as an organization as a whole. So but this is it comes with a pinch of salt, right? There's a balance that needs to be maintained. There's an innovation risk as well when it comes to AI. So at what point do you say, no, we are not going to deploy this AI yet? You know, not going to integrate it into our systems right now.
Um, I'll come at it from a different angle, and this is my personality.
Mm.
I'm a technologist at heart. I love innovation. I think um, new technology, new innovation, change always excites me, and I think this has been constant in my career. Is I enjoy change when new things come, new ways of doing things, and AI is the same way. I mean, I can. If you ask any of the business leaders I work with, I almost never say no, um, unless they tell me they're going to download DeepSeek and going to run it in on our servers.
Mhm.
My answer is mostly not yet.
Right.
Um, if I can't see what the blast radius this new technology brings to us, I cannot say yes. So my approach is, let's sit down with the business leaders. The way we approach is, let's sit down, let's understand first of all what is the use case, what you're trying to bring this for, um, what is the business need this is solving, what is the return on investment, get the full scope of the utilization of this specific AI solution, which, by the way, happens now, the speed with which technologies are growing. Literally 3, 4 times every single week, we are sitting down with different business units talking through an AI solution that's going to improve how they are doing things. Once we get a full picture, it is it is a risk-based. collaborative decision. It's about informing the business leaders of the risk, not saying no. I love to say yes.
Hmm.
They show me a real value to the business. I love to say yes, but I want to understand the risk to the business. Uh, if the value to the business outweighs risk, it's an easy decision to make. That's how we approach it.
Right. So, just gauging from what you said, the role of the CISO has evolved dramatically over the last decade. So what do you think the modern CISO needs to be uh, good at that probably wasn't important like a decade ago?
Yeah. A decade ago, when I think a security leader, a CISO was hired, it was all about that's the smartest person about security in the boardroom, in the executives room, that was being hired for. It was about their uh, knowledge, domain knowledge that they were hired for.
Hmm.
Um, I don't think that's the case anymore. And what I was hinting earlier gets at this one is today we are being hired to make everyone else's decisions safer.
Hmm.
We What separates CISOs now is translation. So and I think the transition is not has been multifold, but if you address one thing, when security leaders were hired just for domain knowledge, they sat in a boardroom. It was domain speak, it was security speak, which the executives didn't understand. Um, uh, the CISOs never spoke bottom line language. What separates CISOs now is they understand translation between your engineers to the executives or to the businesses. Taking architecture and turning it into the four currencies that executives actually understand: money, risk, time, and reputation. And then influence the business leaders without any authority because security touches everything and owns almost nothing in a company.
Hmm. Excellent. So, I think. Like you said, the role has changed. And I guess they were looked at as more like technical firefighters,
Yeah,
uh,
yeah,
and
totally, yeah. Which
yeah,
we are not which we are not anymore. We are now business risk leaders.
right. So that brings me to the question, like, if you were building a company from scratch today, uh, what's the first cybersecurity investment you'd make? And what's the investment you would deliberately avoid at this point?
Um, the first investment I would definitely start with at any company is identity.
Hmm.
Uh, First dollar goes to identity. Before a firewall is in place, before a SIEM, before anything AI powered, because identity is the control plane, everything else assumes. Um, Whether it is somebody getting access to something, whether it is looking at an action, who did what, um, who gains access to what, who can do what, who did what. I would start with identity first.
Hmm.
And somewhat parallelly, Mihir, to me, in my mind, when I think about this question, in my mind, there is an always immediate conflict that comes into my mind is the other thing I would think about is my first dollar, maybe dollar two, is cybersecurity is everyone's job at a company. Everyone should think so. Building a culture, if it is a company that I'm building now, building a culture of security awareness, I would make it
Hmm.
very strong. I think I know you asked for one. In my head, I have two. First dollar is still identity.
Yeah.
Following right on the heels is awareness, making everybody security aware culture is where I would go.
That's perfect. I think, like you said, cybersecurity is a team game. It's not a single person's responsibility. I mean, you could have the best of firewalls, but it's a very old saying, but the it still holds true that human is the weakest link in the chain. So
You're only as strong as your weakest link. Yeah, you're right.
yeah, it was great talking to you about all of this because it just reminded me about the conversations that we used to have like probably a couple of years ago. And there are still, I see a trend where, although yes, the perspective has changed because of AI and everything, but uh, the root causes still remain the same, more or less, even after like 4 to 5 years or probably a decade. And the talk still remains the same. So it was great talking to you about that. And that makes me move towards a newly introduced section called Cyber Shorts. And this particular thing is more like, a rapid fire where I'll be asking you questions and you need to pick your options. And if you feel like you can just explain in one sentence why you picked that. Yeah,
Sounds
works
good.
well. Yeah. So let's start with a new section called Cyber Shorts. And just remember that you need to answer it from a cybersecurity perspective. And I'll just give you the options. Yeah. So let's get started. Uh, my first question would be ChatGPT or Claude for cybersecurity.
Claude.
Your
Um,
reason for that?
yeah, we actually have also cloud security turned on in our enterprise tenant. We have both enterprise licenses for ChatGPT and Claude. We've
Mm-hmm.
been using ChatGPT Enterprise now for more than a year and a half.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the one, the business realness, cybersecurity realness in cloud is much comprehensive than in ChatGPT. ChatGPT answers, even though as I was alluding to, we have had ChatGPT for a year and a half, Claude for um, less than 6 months, probably 4 months now. No, actually, 3 months. Sorry, Claude.
Mm-hmm.
We just signed enterprise agreement, gave it to our employees 3 months back. Claude understands way more business context, makes the answers real, makes the um, um, makes the information actionable for our business context. Now, if you take that to agents, whether it is ChatGPT or Claude, I always felt, sorry, I'm going a little long on this one,
Yeah, yeah.
uh,
That's
is,
completely fine. Yeah.
is that decision fidelity. Your decisions are only as good as your information. If looking at ChatGPT's information over last 1.5 year, Claude's over last 3 months, and we still continue to look at ChatGPT. If an agent were to take action on ChatGPT's action information, I would be terrified.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
All right, moving on to the next question. Windows, Mac OS, or Linux? Your choice for cybersecurity.
Mac OS,
Password or passkey?
passkey, totally passkey. Yeah.
One AI
You
tool.
can't.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
go ahead.
One AI tool everyone should try, definitely.
I'd say Cloud if you haven't, try the free version. Or I would, you could, if you want to try multiple tools, I would say Cursor. Cursor is a phenomenal interface to play in. And then you can pick your tool, whether it is on the behind the screens, whether it is Claude or um, ChatGPT that you use behind the screens.
Mhm. One AI tool everyone should probably avoid.
Tough to answer. There are a few now, but I'll still stay with the DeepSeek after more than a year and a half of it being a problematic problem child.
Mhm. Uh, CEO or CISO, who loses the sleep more?
Uh, it's a tough question. I I would love to say CISO loses more sleep, so CEO doesn't have to, but I think, to be honest, I think CEOs probably lose more sleep.
Yeah, so sorry for putting you in that spot, but we just wanted that.
No worries, no worries.
Yeah, so most underrated security habit according to you.
I don't want to take one word, but I think if I can say it in a simplest sense, verifying access is truly removed after an employee has left is a very underrated security habit.
Hmm. I completely agree with you on that. One app you trust completely.
Uh, None. I have a few favorite apps, but there is no app that I truly completely trust.
Mhm. Uh, Deep fakes, scary or overhyped?
Scary.
And you can take like a couple of minutes to answer this, maybe. One cybersecurity prediction for 2030 for our viewers and listeners.
This is a real tough one for me. I think the uh, probably looking into my glass ball. I think the biggest um, insider threat going into 2030 won't be a person. I mean, we're already seeing agents slowly becoming part of that workforce. Come to 2030, I would see a lot of agentic systems, and that's why I'm saying my glass ball. It could, the technology is evolving so fast, it would probably be at a scale much higher than I'm expecting. But this is purely for cyber. The biggest insider threat won't be a person anymore. It'll be an AI agent with credentials that nobody remembered to revoke.
Right, right. Thank you so much, Harsha. I think that was really insightful, as well as I know I put you on the spot at times, and I unfortunately don't have a hamper or something to give you for answering the question so aptfully and insightfully to our viewers. So that brings us to the conclusion of that segment and our interview as well. It was lovely having you. And a massive thank you to you for joining us and dropping so many sharp, actionable insights today. From navigating the realities of AI governance and deepfakes to redefining what probably modern CISO leadership looks like. One thing I would say that is abundantly clear is staying ahead of emerging threats isn't just about building higher walls. It's about having better visibility over the risks outside your organization, right? If you found today's conversation valuable, do us a quick favor, hit that subscribe button, drop us a review, and share this episode with a colleague or security leader who needs to hear it. Thanks for tuning in. Stay proactive, and we'll catch you next episode. Thank you, Harsha, so much.